Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I've got Senate Bill 577, which establishes the Equal Pay Task Force. Yesterday in Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee, we had a bill that would have created the Equal Pay Act, and a bill that would have prohibited discrimination among women based on their disparities in pay, prevented those disparities from existing. And that bill was not successful, and we were not successful in getting the bill out of committee. So at this point, I'd like to move forward with another instrument, which would create the task force, where we will continue to look at this issue and make any recommendations regarding equal pay issues to the legislature. So I ask for your favorable.
We're doing Senate Bill 577. Thank you. We have we have a few cards. We have a card from Deborah Frieda from AAUW. Would like to speak if she's here.
She's okay. She's okay.
Okay. We have a card from Clauditra Minor. Would provide information if requested. Card from Jay Augustine from the Workforce Commission says he would like to speak. There are no other cards here, none in opposition, members. No, before you proceed, Senator Kostelka.
Senator Peterson, I just wanted to ask, yesterday your bill dealt with state employment, public employment.
Yes, sir.
Is this the same,
yes,
same
sir.
thing? It just deals with the public employment?
Yes, sir. It will look at wage disparities between men and women across all occupations, and in certain public sectors is what the study the extent of wage disparities between men and women in public sectors.
That's what I was looking at. Is this broader than your bill yesterday? I mean, the study broader than dealing with public employment?
It's consistent. Public sector.
Public sector.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you. Gordon.
Thank you so much, Senator Murray. Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee, thank you all so much this morning for the opportunity to appear before you. I'm Jay Augustine, the Executive Counsel of the State Workforce Commission. I'm here to provide information regarding Senator Peterson's Senate Bill 577. Mr. Vice Chair, if you'll allow, by way of organization, I want to visit with the committee very briefly in a threefold capacity. I want to talk with you first and foremost about the current law, current revised statutes as they exist. I'd like to talk with you secondly about the fiscal operations and the way the fisc or the money moves through LWC and what is appropriated for what. And third, I would like to visit with you about problems as we foresee with potential implementation of the statute or of the bill as proposed by Senator Peterson. First, with regard to current law, I have read Senate Bill 577, and it mirrors, I think, almost exactly. I draw your attention to Title 23, Section 2021, and Section 2022. Which was passed, I believe, in 2004 with amendments in 2008, creating an Equal Pay Commission, almost verbatim, word for word, the same intent, obviously, but almost verbatim, word for word, the same statutory purpose and appropriation. So I believe we do have current law that achieves certainly the intent that Senator Peterson must have in mind by sponsoring the bill. More so, I also want to call to you all's attention. You all will recall 2008 when this statute was amended. The Louisiana then Department of Labor had a name change to become the Louisiana Workforce Commission. There was a one-time allocation of several $1 million, maybe $6 million if I'm not mistaken, from the state general funds to help us promote what we do and why we changed to become the Louisiana Workforce Commission. I emphasize that was a one-time and one-time only fiscal appropriation. So the monies that were associated with that and presumably associated with funding the study and the like were consumed or used, but they are no longer in existence. Secondly, I want to, and on that note, I want to sort of dovetail into fiscal operations at LWC. As you all are aware, the vast majority, almost 90% of our funding at LWC is federal in nature. Usually when someone does work, be it someone in our Equal Opportunity and Compliance Division, be it someone who works in our Office of Workforce Development or what, when they do work, their time is coded, if you will, and appropriated to a particular funding stream, which is usually the Workforce Investment Act of 1998, or perhaps the Community Service Block Grant coding, which comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Human Services. In either case, both those funding streams, and I'm using these by way of example, both those funding streams are federal in nature. So there is very, very limited state funds, general funds, that go for our operation by comparison, obviously, to sister agencies and state government. So as I appreciate and as I read the bill as the agency's chief legal officer, there are some very significant challenges that come to mind with regard to our current funding stream. And I say that to share. I want to call your attention specifically on page 2 of 4 of the bill, lines 27 through 28, or 27 and 28, and in an ancillary fashion, that which follows on page 3 of 4, the staff and all of the functioning is supposed to be provided by the Louisiana Workforce Commission. That presents very significant fiscal problems, or it could present very significant fiscal problems for us. Which actually leads into part 3 I want to visit about problems with potential implementation. We, as we are currently constituted, and it certainly is no secret, obviously, to many of you, we are in dire financial straits, not just from the state fisc, but also from the federal fisc. And again, most of our funds are federally appropriated. We are in the process now in our Office of Workforce Development of downsizing and of cutting back, which is very unfortunate given the very important function we have because of the status of our federal budget and the cutbacks that are going on there. So we literally do not have staff to do many of the functions we're mandated to do now. With an additional, which I can only describe as an unfunded mandate as existing in those proposed lines that I read, it would be absolutely impossible to perform the functions as they are intended internally, which would mean the only way to achieve it would be externally by contracting out. Again, we go back to the same fiscal realities that there are no funds for that. So, subject to any questions, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee, this concludes my remarks. I'm here for information purposes only, but I do want you to know I've discussed this in great detail with our executive director and the members of our executive team. It presents some significant challenges for us.
I appreciate that, but I'm sure Senator Peterson will work with you all to make sure it doesn't overburden the staff there. I'm sure she will. And if we add some language, I'm sure she'll accommodate you all. Let's see, Senator Martinez, Senator Peacock.
Yes, Senator, is there a fiscal note on this?
No, there isn't.
Just with what we've heard, do you think we should get one before?
Absolutely not.
Why?
There are more than enough staff to address the issues of studying and making recommendations to the Louisiana legislature, the issues of disparities between men and women at the Louisiana Workforce Development Conference. I respect Mr. Augustine's opinion and what he was here, required to do here today, but this issue is a very important issue that if, in fact, we're not going to pass an act right now, okay, and we decided not to do that yesterday in Senate and Governmental Affairs. Certainly, with over 51% of the population in Louisiana and a significant number, overwhelming number of state workers are women, and this is looking at the public sector. This is merely an attempt to set up a task force to study and make recommendations, and we do that all the time.
So,
and we burden departments with doing that all the time. In my opinion, this is one of the roles of that department, and they will find the way to do it within the current constraints if we tell them to, and that's why we're here.
but we could get one, couldn't we?
I'm sorry?
Could we get a fiscal note?
Oh, yeah, you could absolutely request it. There's no question. You asked me if I thought we needed one, and my answer was no.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we wait to discuss this bill till we get a fiscal note.
That's appropriate to make that motion, Senator, but I would just suggest this to you because of the timing of the session. This bill's not going to be heard till probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week. That's plenty of time for us to get one, and they'll be available to everybody.
And that's been done on many occasions.
And I would suggest that to you. Just in terms of trying to move the bill along, the timing is an issue.
Thank you.
If you would do that.
I just feel like it's our responsibility as a committee to know what it's going to cost, and would like to make an informed decision. I think we need to have that knowledge.
Well, that's fine.
If we could get that,
I'd be happy not to move the bill until we get a fiscal note on the floor.
But on the floor, we couldn't get it for this committee next Thursday, you think?
No, I'm asking that we report the bill favorably and that we get which we do often, is get a fiscal note between the committee and the floor. And that until the fiscal note is provided, I wouldn't move it until that's provided to you. And I understand your concerns, wanting that information.
Especially with the current budget constraints and everything.
Absolutely.
I know, and since they're saying they don't get any funding.
Sure.
I don't want that, they said we already have a current law that's doing this, as a duplicate. We need to watch our dollars. So,
if I may, Mr. Vice Chairman and Mr. Senator Peacock, in answering or responding to your question, I appreciate your concern on a fiscal note. With due respect to Senator Peterson, and I certainly appreciate the bill's intent. I absolutely appreciate the bill's intent. But there is an inherent ambiguity, as I see it, in studying the issue when you talk about hiring staff. When most of us, be it private sector or government, accept jobs, full-time jobs as a staff somewhere, there is a specific job description in doing X, Y, and Z. As I read the proposed legislation, again, I totally agree that the purpose is important, but there is an inherent ambiguity when you talk about bringing on either full-time employees or contracting out with a third party, with a private entity to perform something. I just don't understand what that means. So because of the ambiguity there, because of the fiscal issues, I respectfully want to share with you it is very, very problematic, or would be very problematic for us with any realistic implementation. And the Senator obviously mentioned the fact, again, I direct the committee's attention, Section 2021 and Section 2022 of Title 23, the law already is in existence.
And the disparities continue.
Well,
and
there are a couple of things, and we have a long agenda and a lot to get to. Senator, once again, I understand you, and I appreciate your concern for the state's fisc, and I have the same concern. But it's, I guess, in terms of from one senator to another, I think that because she has said she will request a fiscal note and not move the bill on the Senate floor until we have it and have a chance to review it, I would just suggest that we should pass the bill out and give her a chance to work with the department and the other members of the Senate
Mr. Augustine,
to make that happen.
I'm committed to working with him, and I won't move the bill until there's a fiscal note.
And just so that you will know, staff has provided to me that while we've heard that this commission exists, it used to exist. It expired in July of 2006, so it's not around anymore.
What, Mr. Chairman, or Senator Peter, was there a reason why the bill, what was there, you said yesterday there was another bill, accompanying bill that was...
It's not an accompanying bill. This one creates a task force. The one yesterday, in fact, created an act which would be law that would prohibit discrimination between, because of pay disparities in women. A woman doing the same job as a man.
Well, they should be paid the same.
Right, and that's what the task force would do. It wouldn't create the law. It would make recommendations to the legislature. So do you insist on your motion? Because I was going to move to report the bill favorably. We understand that Senator Peterson is going to request a fiscal note and not move the bill on the Senate floor until we have a chance to see it. That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'm looking to my other committee members to see what they're feeling on this issue. I just feel like it's our responsibility as a committee to know what it's going to cost. This is where it should be decided here and not necessarily on the floor.
Okay, Senator, that's your motion that we defer it for a week?
Yes. Or until the fiscal note's prepared, which would be hopefully next week, and then we can decide and get it out.
Senator, I know that I appreciate your position. That's what the committee thing, but I will tell you, the session ends in a few weeks. In terms of timing, if for the bill to have a chance to get through, it's probably best for us to allow it to leave this committee, and with the commitment that it's not going to move until we get a fiscal note. But if that your position is to make your motion, that's fine. And so you insist on your motion?
Yes.
Well,
Senator Murray, if I may call something to your attention, sir, I'm looking at the bottom of Section 2022 of the revised statutes there. It shows an amendment with Act number 743, effective July 1st, 2008. You would remember probably more so than me, Act 743 was the one that did our name change from the Department of Labor to Workforce Commission. Obviously, I don't have a full annotated version to know the entire history, but it seems by this amendment at least that it was in existence as recent as 2008.
Well, I appreciate that. Any other discussion from the committee? Senator Peacock has moved to defer Senate Bill 577 for a week, pending a fiscal note, and I would object to that motion. So I guess we would call the roll. I'm sorry, before you do that, we also have cards in, Mary Patricia Ray, the Federation of Teachers, and Louis Wren, AFL-CIO, in support. Yes, ma'am. Take your time. And actually, while you're doing that, I guess that's in terms of procedure, so we can maybe save a little time. Let me make a substitute motion to report the bill favorably, and I'm sure Senator Peacock would object to that. So we've called it. She's going to, with the caveat that she's going to get a fiscal note and not move it till we get on the Senate floor. Substitute motion to report it favorably. Everyone accepts.
I don't even.
Well, that's entertainment. While we can't do anything, you might as well stay. Okay, we'll be ready. Okay, we're voting on the substitute motion to report the bill favorably, pending they won't move then.
Object.
And Senator Peacock, you maintain your objection?
I won't object.
Okay. Well, okay. I move favorably to report the bill, Senate Bill 577 favorably, and there is no objection, so Senate Bill 577 is reported favorably. Thank you,
thank you,
Senator,
Mr. Chairman
and we'll
and
report
members.
the
Thank you
fiscal
very
note on the Senate floor.
Yeah, I will not move it forward until I'll request the fiscal note pursuant to Senator Peacock's request.
Senator Peterson moves that we advance the Senate bills on third reading, final passage, subject to call, and calls from the calendar. Senate Bill number 577 by Senator Peterson. It is an act to amend Title 23 relative to employment to create the Louisiana Equal Pay Task Force and to provide for the purpose, composition of the task force, duties and powers, and report its deadline.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. What it does is creates the Equal Pay Task Force. This bill was heard in Senate Governmental Affairs Committee. After the Equal Pay Act failed, we then decided to move forward with the task force. And I'd ask that the bill be passed favorably.
All right. Any further discussion? Any objection? Lady now moves final passage. Machines roll no in favor. Vote yes. Opposed no. Secretary of Machines, please. Vote your machines, please. Vote your machines. Are you through voting? You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 33 yeas, no nays. Bill final passage. Reconsiderable bill final passage. Motion to objection.
Senate Bill number 577 by Senator Peterson. It's an act to amend Title 23 relative to employment. Comes from the House with two sets of House floor amendments.
Thank you,
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House added 3 amendments providing for quarterly reports, requiring for a change in the date for submission of the findings of the task force, and also some language that dealt with general fund dollars being utilized with the Workforce Development Commission. I'd like to reject the amendments. I'd move to reject the amendments, Mr. President.
All right. Senator Morrell, you have a question on this? Senator Morrell, you had a question? All right. Lady moves to reject. When the machines are open, no in favor, vote yes, opposed no. Mr. Secretary, open the machines, please. Vote your machines, please. Vote your machines. Are you through voting? Senator White, you through voting? All right, close them up, please. 34 yeas, no nays. The amendments are rejected.
Senate Bill 577 by Senator Peterson is an act
Yeah.
to amend Title 23 relative to employment. The conferees recommend that the House floor amendments 1 and 2 by Representative Williams be adopted. House floor amendments 1, 2, 3, and 4 by Representative Broadwater be rejected. It is signed by 3 members of the Senate committee and 2 of the House.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the 3 amendments that were put on in the House, 2 of them were adopted. One changed the date. The second one talked about quarterly reports. We rejected the third one, which dealt with monies appropriated with the Workforce Commission. 3 of the Senate members, as the Secretary mentioned, Senator Crow, Senator Murray, and myself signed, and so did Speaker Pro Tem Leger and the Chairman, Herbert Dixon. I'd ask that you adopt the committee report.
Any questions? The lady now moves to adopt the Conference Committee report. Machines are open. Those in favor vote yes. Opposed, no. Secretary, open machines, please. Vote your machines, please. Senator Long, yes. Senator Cortez, yes. You through voting? You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 30 yeas, 1 nay. The report is adopted.
Senator Martin.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Senate Bill 68. Is that right? Where am I? 568, right? Where am I?
68.
68, right. Senate Bill 68. I got some bills. Keep the numbers correct. I want to, the bill before you is one that I'm going to ask to have voluntarily defer today. It's a bill that deals with fair pay for Louisiana women. Fair pay is more important in this state to women more than ever in a struggling economy. The wage gap exists in this state regardless of education level, and it persists regardless of the industry and remains even when accounting for personal choices. Women in Louisiana already have higher rates of economic insecurity than men in Louisiana, and that's not fair. As a result, women are particularly vulnerable to economic hardship in today's struggling economy when every dollar counts. Women are more likely to rely on public benefits like Medicaid, food stamps, and housing assistance services, which in many states have reduced during the economic crises. Here in Louisiana, we've provided food stamp benefits to more than 911,000 children and adults, an increase of over almost 34,000 from the previous year. In 2011, women made up about 2/3 of all workers that were paid minimum wage or less, and this totaled about 2.4 million women 16 and older. In Louisiana, the minimum wage was $7.25 per hour, equivalent to only to about $14,000, $500 annually for those working full-time year-round. Fair pay and equal pay would help close the wage gap and increase women's economic security. Why is that important? Why would the members of this committee care about economic security for your mothers, for your wives, for your daughters? Why would that matter? So if someone is doing the exact same job as a man, but they happen to be a woman, why is it fair that they would not be paid equitably? It's very difficult for folks to offer objections to it, but I've seen and witnessed folks object to legislation that would pay women equally. Businesses come to the table, business industry groups come to the table and say it's going to cost us money to pay someone fairly. It's outrageous. I'm proud to sit here today with my colleague, strong male colleague to my right, Senator Ed Murray. I'm proud of Senator Murray for taking a leadership role on an issue that's not only important to women, but important to men in Louisiana as well. Who in their right mind would want to disrespect their own mother? or their own wife who chooses to work, or their daughters. Who would want to do that? Why would you want to prepare your daughter to be a doctor or an astronaut or a lawyer or a teacher and tell them that you were willing to support them in their endeavors and gave your full support, but yet you were not willing to support them being paid fairly and equitably? I know that that is not the case for many of you in the room today, and that you, like Senator Murray, will join us to make sure once and for all women in this state are treated equally. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to defer Senate Bill 68 and proudly support Senator Murray in his efforts with the bill moving forward.
Senator Peterson, would you want to defer it for 1 week or just defer it?
No, I want to defer it. I have full confidence that Senator Murray is going to carry this legislation where it needs to go, and I would like to co-author the legislation, and I would certainly, I look forward to testifying on the floor of the House and hopefully joining with all of you as co-authors.
You're in the Senate now.
I'm in the Senate. The House, too, if I could.
Where's it at? Why can't I find Senator Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Good morning.
Good morning.
Senate Bill 334, I'm joined at the table, I think, by Julie Harris, Camille Moran, and Brenda Frieda. They're all going to be joining me this morning. Just with a little bit of context, this is a bill that will extend additional protections of equal pay to men and women alike. And yeah, you like that, Senator Tyra? Yeah. And provides that the private sector, local government, political subdivision employers would be prohibited from intentionally discriminating based on gender. But as a little bit of context, I think Ms. Mitchell, we're going to circulate some information. They already have the information. You have quite a bit of information in front of you. But just this morning while I was up at 4 a.m., I thought this would be a good article for you all to reference. So I printed it from the New York Times. This is today's New York Times. It talks about the American middle class is no longer the world's richest. Now, it's not directly related to equal pay, but it's related to the income disparity in our country versus other nations. And it's pretty disheartening, the path that we're on. So I would encourage you, even if you don't read it right now, to really take a close look at this. The first line is, the American middle class, long the most affluent in the world, has lost that distinction. And that is embarrassing. That's embarrassing to all of us as Americans and Louisianians. But if you then take that and you think about women in America, it's even worse. So all Americans are behind, but women are even farther behind, and that is embarrassing. So please do take in this information. But back to Senate Bill 334, what we believe is that paying unequal wages based on sex is not only unjust, it discriminates against the person receiving the lesser rate, but it also leads to lesser morale, threatens the well-being of our citizens of this state, and adversely affects the general welfare of the citizens in Louisiana. The bill does allow for exceptions for instances where pay is determined under a seniority system, a merit system, a system that measures earnings by quantity or quality of production, or a differential based on a factor other than sex, as long as the system is job-related or furthers a legitimate government purpose. So, as a matter of history, in 2010, Louisiana working women, full-time, year-round, earned on average $30,600, placing Louisiana women 46th among 50th states. And I know we've become immune to these numbers because we're always 46th, 47th, 48th, 49th, or 50th. But at some point, don't you think we should wake up and try to attain number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can be proud of our wives, our mothers, our grandmothers, and our daughters? I'm just wondering, do any of you, Senator Morrell, Senator Perry, any of y'all have daughters? Anybody have any daughters? No daughters. That is the problem with this committee. I'm going to ask, I am going to ask right now.
But
That is the problem. Okay, let me try again.
I got
Let me
two
try
daughters
again.
and a
No, let me
wife,
try
too.
again. Let me try again. Anybody married?
I got a wife.
Oh, here we go. I got some now. Anybody married? Any wives working? Any wives work? Oh, wow. Wives working.
My wife
wives.
works in the home. She works hard.
Wives working in the home. She is certainly underpaid.
She is.
We know that for a
I don't
fact.
want her job.
And she's married to a lawyer. Yes, well, my husband's married to a lawyer too, so I'm not going to get into that spousal relationship there, lawyers and non-lawyers. But I just say that because we all want equity, and for our daughters, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, etc. We all want equity. But in contrast, Louisiana men working year-round, while women were earning $30,600, men working the same amount of time, full-time, earned on average $45,524, ranking men at 23 among the states in the District of Columbia, with an average earnings that were greater than the earnings of men in 28 other states. Nationally, the median average annual earnings for men in 2010 was $46,500, so we were slightly above that. The earnings ratio between full-time, year-round employed women and men was 67.2%. That is, Louisiana women earn just 67.2 cents for every dollar earned by a Louisiana man. Let me try this again. 67 cents on every dollar. So women get 67 cents, men get $1, but we do the exact same work. Why is that fair? It's not fair. It's not fair. So this is a really easy vote today. This is really easy for everybody. Louisiana has the second largest wage gap in the U.S. between men and women. We're 49th when it comes to the wage gap of all 50 states. So we're not quite last. Wyoming is the only state that has a larger gap. Nationally, the ratio was 78.6%. And so we have earned these embarrassing statistics year after year, and yet we are still number 49 in the country because we're not doing anything about it. And this is what the opportunity is presented today to all of you. All of you gentlemen on the committee that don't have any daughters but have wives that work. It is time for us as state elected officials to make a change in the pay disparity that our citizens, particularly women, face in our state. Are y'all not telling me the truth? Y'all have
I
daughters?
think we all have daughters.
No, we all have no.
It doesn't. Senator Murray doesn't have a daughter. You sure, Senator Murray?
That's why he's so.
Good.
That's why he's so relaxed.
That's why he's not answering.
Alrighty. Extending these protections throughout the market sector is certainly critical. This bill states that a public entity may not enter into a contract for goods and services with any private employer unless the private employer complies with the Equal Pay Act and remains in compliance throughout the contract. It's that simple. And that's what we're attempting to do here. I'm going to let these ladies offer testimony, but once again, I want to keep this simple. We are number 49th when it comes to the wage gap. We can all agree that it's embarrassing, and we all have the power to do something about it. You are all empowered to make opportunities more equitable for your daughters, for your wives, for your mothers, for your grandmothers, and your aunts. And you know that deep in your heart, you know that it's an issue of fundamental fairness, that people should be paid equitably for the work that they do. And so I'm going to let these ladies present their testimony and then be available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peterson, I know you want to close, but I think Senator Perry had a question. He had a question earlier, Senator, so if you don't mind answering Senator Perry's question before you close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, let me first start by saying that I have 4 children, 3 of which tell me what to do, which that means that they are girls. And then also on a side note, I think it's important for y'all to understand that I might in my small little town of Kaplan, I might be one of the largest employers of women because I have a restaurant which employs 7 people. I don't have a male that works for me.
Smart, man.
My law firm, I have two people that work for me. Neither one of them is a male. I had a male chef at one time for the first 6 months. He got paid $3 less than the female cook. So,
Qualified.
well, I can tell you, he's no longer with me. So you're probably right. So no, I mean I appreciate the comments. I do have just a couple of questions.
Sure.
And you know, I don't ask a lot of questions, so I truly, there's just information that I don't understand. On page 3, if you can look at lines 13 to 20, let's say 13 to 21, something that caught my ear when you were opening that I don't remember you saying in previous sessions was the issue of the employer intentionally. So here's my question. If it's intentional, is the procedure to bring it to the employer's, I guess, to put them on notice from a legal standpoint, put them on notice, is that what basically on page 3, lines 13 through 21, does that cover that area?
Yes.
Meaning that he then has to know you have to make that formal complaint?
Yes.
Okay. One thing on page 3, line 18, when it talks about it complies with the statute was taken out and it says satisfactory to the employee. Talk to me about how can the employer meet that?
How can the employer satisfy the employee?
Well, it said it complies with the statute is being taken out and is being replaced with satisfactory of the employee within the time period provided. So I guess what I'm asking is that that's kind of vague. So if it comes to the, I guess if it's brought to they're notified
Right.
that there's a complaint.
Yeah. Right, and so the intent is for, the bill is intended to elicit from the employer why there's a basis for a disparity,
Okay.
right? And so that time frame will permit for the employer and the employee to converse and to, okay, Mr. Smith is getting paid $85 an hour, I'm only getting paid $65 an hour. Why is this? There's a, sort of like I'll call it a cooling off or an attempt to arbitrate or negotiate.
So the satisfactory to the employee does not necessarily have to be up to that dollar amount. I mean, what I'm saying is that the employee could say he's making I'm just whatever the amount is, $20 an hour. I'm at $17.50. I think I'm at least worth $19. Maybe I'm not worth the would that meet?
Yes.
That point?
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever the employee.
One thing I will tell you on page 4 that I really like about the bill is removing the 19th JDC and allowing someone to file in their home venue.
Yeah.
If somebody's in Acadia or Vermilion Parish, I think that is something that is
Our
good.
constituents will like that.
All right. Last question. On page 5, line 6, the United States Department of Labor was taken out, replaced with United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Is that just a new department?
It's a correction.
Sorry.
It's a correction.
Yeah, it's a correction because it's
Oh,
not
okay.
the Department of Labor. It is the EEOC. It should have been that, and it is a correction. That's all. That's a technical correction.
Yes,
I'm
it
done.
should have always been the EEOC,
Okay.
the Human Rights, and the EEOC jointly.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Perry, for your questions.
Okay, Senator Murray has a question.
It's not really a question. I wanted to say I strongly support this bill, along with the 2 others on the agenda today that I've authored, to do the same thing. And I think it's really important for this committee to go on record to support equal pay. So I want to make a motion at the appropriate time to move the bill out favorable, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we'll hold that thought. Senator Tarver, you have a question?
Not a question, but I want to tell you, Senator Peterson, my wife make 4 times what I make,
Wow.
and I have 4 daughters.
Well, this will protect you.
That's right.
Well, let me tell you, no, you cannot be protected with 4 women in the house. And it costs a lot more to raise a woman than it does a man.
I won't argue with that. I won't argue with that. And we don't get discounts, as you heard.
I can ditto that feeling.
Heard we don't get discounts.
Okay, Senator Murray moves that we report.
Wait, I didn't get to close.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have much to say. Let me tell you something. I don't really have much to say. I think the issue is so compelling that I'm sure that you've already made up your mind about which way you're going to vote on the bill. If you note, I will just note for the record, it's already on record, that not one person came to the table in opposition. There were many cards that were submitted, but no one was able to come, was willing to come to the table and attempt to articulate why women shouldn't be treated fairly. That's notable, and I certainly hope that this committee will join in supporting Senator Murray's motion to report the bill favorably, and I thank you for your time today.
Senator Murray.
I did want to add this. Last year, Senator Peterson and I had an opportunity to go to the White House to celebrate the anniversary of this effort. And just so that members will know, there were lots of private sector people there who believe in this already, who do this voluntarily on their own. Just so that I want to make sure you all knew that.
Okay. So we have a motion by Senator Murray to report Senate Bill 334 favorable. Any objections? I'm hearing no objections. It's reported favorable. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank
you for your time.
Thank you all so much.